This Sun-Gazette video coverage is proudly sponsored by Woodlands Bank.
Well, Coach, first off, talk about the process. Of course, it's your second year now with the Crosscutters as a coach, first year as a manager. Describe the feeling being named the manager and the process that allowed you to take the top step.
Well, first of all, I'm very excited to be here. I was hoping I would get to come back to Williamsport, and I did get to come back, so that's a big plus. It's been a little bit of a process because I was hired last year as thinking I was going to manage last year. That's what my contract said, and then some things happened crazy, but the good Lord takes care of you. He ended up getting sent here as the bench coach, and really did like it here, and then fortunate enough to come back this year as the manager. So things happen for a reason, and so I'm really excited to be here. I love Williamsport. Met a lot of great people here last summer, and the fans are very passionate here, and I like that, so I'm excited to be here.
Now, you're used to coaching, of course, from the collegiate level for a majority of your managerial career. Talk about the difference between coaching at the college level versus coaching in the draft league, still working with a lot of younger talent, but describe the differences between college to the draft league.
I explained this to the team this morning in our first meeting that I guess you could call me the college guy. You look at the other 5 managers in the league, and they've all played in the big leagues. And of course, I work for major league teams as a scout, but then most of all my career's coaching's been in college. And these guys are college age guys, and so I feel like I can relate to them very well. But I told them today, I said, we're introducing you to professional baseball. Things are, even though I'm a college guy, we're going to run things on a professional level. So it's not quite as structured. Like, in college, for instance, we all go out at one time and we stretch together and everything's together. And we don't do that in professional baseball. You go out and take care of yourself and have yourself ready when it's time to go. Just little things like that. It was funny because last year, the first road trip, we looked up, and coming out of the hotel, half the guys were already dressed, because in college you dress at the hotel, and you get on the bus dressed and you go to the stadium. Well, in professional baseball, you don't do that. It was kind of funny, so I made sure that we don't have any guys do that this year, that they come out of the hotel dressed. But there's other difference. Obviously, the biggest difference, wood bat instead of aluminum bat, and a lot of these guys got to learn. Heck, I used to could hit it on the handle and I could still get a base hit. Now I hit it on the handle and broke my bat, and it barely made it to the pitcher. So a lot of difference, but baseball's baseball. It's 90 feet and 60 feet, 6 inches.
What does it take to win in the draft league?
It's we all talk about how big these prospects, all these guys are prospects, and you keep hearing that over and over and over. And I told them again another thing this morning. I said, all of you are prospects, and all of you are moving up the ladder. We understand that, but when the first pitch is thrown, our job is to win the baseball game. And so to win in the draft league, you got to be consistent. It's every day. You got to come out and you got to be ready to play, and you got to do things. And one of the big points and things I want to teach these guys is how to win. It took a while to do that last year. Guys got to understand what it takes to win, and consistency, and if you're not willing to commit to the routine, you're never going to be very successful in this league or any league above us. You're not going to be successful. You must commit to the routine. Every day is a routine, and you have to commit to that.
You got to be a part of this draft league championship last year. We know this is a different team, but how much buzz does that create for the Cutters itself?
The fans are really buzzing about that, and what a great night that was. And it's so ironic that it's so funny. I told the guys this morning another thing, how important it is to win the first half, because the first half gets to host. And so for them, they have a big goal here. Let's win the first half so the second half guys get to host the championship game. And it's different guys, but again, it's a mindset, and you will see that I have a mindset of winning baseball games. I mean, that's been I think the reason I'm here, the reason I was hired, I'd been retired for a couple of years, not because I wanted to, but my wife got sick, and so she passed away in September of 23, and I had retired for 2 years to take care of her, and then 3 weeks after I was retired, after she passed away, I get a phone call offering me a job in this league, and it was kind of very surprising to me. I hadn't applied for it; I just got a phone call, but I think the reason I was hired is because I was always a player development guy. I was successful in college by recruiting guys that were not the big name recruits, but they had something right here. And I was a big time. There's a lot of college coaches now that they're only in the recruiting business. They're not in the player development business. Heck, if you're not good enough, I'll recruit you out. But I was always that guy that felt like, let's bring these players in here that have a big heart, that love the game, that are committed to the routine, and let's develop them. So that's why I think I'm here and why I got this job, because I am a player development guy. So we got to do player development, but we got to win too. So we got to win.
How does that excite you about these guys, you being at the head of the helm here for this season?
Well, that's where I've always been. It was kind of funny. Last year is the first time I'd ever been an assistant in my career, and I know there's not many coaches like that. I was just very fortunate that my first job was the head coach, and so I had never been an assistant before. So it was an adjustment for me last year to be second in command, but I've always been that's just what I do. You're born to do something. And I guess this is what I was born to do. And like I said, I had retired to take care of my wife. And I assumed she went through the Golden Gates and said, give him baseball back. And because that's how it happened. And so I think I'm more built to be the head guy. That's just, and that's not a feather in anybody's hat. There's some people that are built to be that assistant guy, and there's some people that are built to be the head guy. That's just the way it is.
Coach, how do you what's your kind of methodology about coaching? You kind of up on the wall guy? You expect the guys to be kind of on point the whole game, or are you just more of a consistency, a little more laid back?
Well, I'm in my older age, I've become a little more laid back. I don't throw things in the dugout and stuff like I did when I was young. I don't know, maybe every once in a while I'll throw something. It's kind of fun. Kind of fun to throw something every once in a while. But I am a guy that believes in every pitch is important. I'm never going to give up. I don't care if I'm 12 runs up or 12 runs down. We want to play the same. We never want to change our method of playing, whether we're 12 up or 12 down. You go out and you play each pitch at 100%. And I told the guys this morning, years and years and years ago, an old scout, when I was scouting for the Cardinals, an old scout sat down beside me that had way more experience than me. And he said, Kenny, remember this, you can pretty well watch them run on and off the field and tell who's a player and who's not. And I've taken that through my whole career. I expect you to hustle. I expect you to play hard. I expect you to go after every ball. There is nothing else to do but go hard every play, every pitch. And that's what you'll see out of me. But I'm a little more laid back now than I was a year ago. I would consider myself a player's coach. I think the players, you obviously me at the batting cage telling funny stories or telling jokes, because I believe you can play hard and have fun at the same time. I don't have a problem with a guy laughing during batting practice. Let's have a little fun too. But you got to learn to do that. Some guys have trouble with that.
You a player runner on first, they have the green light kind of coach, or
it depends on who that runner is. And one thing I want to teach these guys, if we give you the green light That probably doesn't mean take off stealing on 3-0. You know, I saw that last year 2 or 3 times. I saw that. And I also saw a guy last year that I was coaching third. I gave the steal sign on 2 straight pitches, and he never moved. Well, the guy hits a double at bat, and the kid that was on first ends up at third. And I said, hey, did you miss the sign? I give you the steal twice. And he said, oh, I just thought it was best for me to stay at first. I thought the hitter would have a better chance. What? I didn't realize that 22 years old was a little smarter than older guys. But anyhow, so they have to learn. Yes, I'm okay. We will put the green light on sometime. Now, I do like to run. Now, I like to play the game fast, and I like to run. So sometimes we will have that green light. But we got to teach these guys how to play the game. Very important, very important.